Okay, let me go ahead and start streaming. All right, good morning. Today is the July 23rd. We were supposed to do some presentations, project presentation. Unfortunately, the ones who are supposed to do the presentations are not in yet. So we will proceed with chapter 23. And I'm hoping that this will be chapter 21, sorry. And we will, hopefully, if we have time, we will do some more material. But I'm thinking maybe this is the last chapter, since we have 3 more days. Yeah. All right. Cost, volume, profit analysis. Okay. What does this title tell you?
Cost, value, profit.
Cost. Okay. While you are thinking, make it or something. I just saw the water over there.
I'm so ready to go home. Got me a date. Shit, soon as I get back home, I'm at home, bro. Text her right now. I'm tired. Oh, I'm so tired. I got 2 more days of work. Let's see. You have 2 more days of work, then I'm off for 6 days. I go working with my dad. You ever got a food with your dad?
So what is cost?
Cost is like how much something,
How much it takes to
yeah,
make something, make a product, or buy it, or
yeah,
make it yourself, yeah.
yeah.
Volume,
Volume is, I guess, the amount of what you're gonna make.
production, the amount that you produce. Profit,
It's the money that after your revenues and expenses after your expenses what you have left after your expenses are taken care of.
you profit, yeah. Profit that you make. Is there a correlation between those 3 terms? Between the cost, the volume, and profit?
I believe so.
Such as?
Such as,
Explain, elaborate a little bit.
okay, the cost of it, like you say, that's your expenses.
Costs and expenses.
Like,
Costs, actually costs.
oh, the cost, yeah,
Mhm.
basically same thing. That's how much, like you said, it takes to make something or do something. Your value is how much that you have to sell.
I know, what's the correlation between?
The correlation
Yeah.
between them is, I guess, your profit would be how much of the value you sell and how much it costs you, basically. So I guess it depends on the other. Like your profit depends how much value you sell and how much your
Okay.
cost overall and how much you have to pay on that.
So we're going to look at the correlation between these 3 things. Manipulation there. If you want a profit to be such and such, okay, how much should you produce? At what cost? If you want to produce certain volume, okay, what will be the profit? Okay, and what will be the cost? So we're going to look at the correlation between these 3 terms, all right? How can we manipulate that correlation? In order to understand that correlations, we need to just review a little bit of the costs. Yeah, we talked about cost behavior. Do you remember? And what was the first thing that you should come to your mind when we talk about cost behavior? Remember, we classified costs according to the
Like overhead? No, that's expensive.
fixed and variable and mixed costs. So that's the cost behavior, the correlation between the production and the cost. In some areas, the cost is fixed regardless of how much you produce. In some areas, the more you produce, the more your cost will be. That's a variable cost. So and we also talked that the variable cost is fixed per unit and variable as a total. The fixed cost is fixed as a total, but variable varies as a per unit basis. You remember that? We talked about those, yeah. So the way costs respond to changes in volume or activity is a factor in almost every decision managers make. Some costs vary with volume or production activity, and those are variable costs. And others remain fixed as the volume changes. Those are fixed costs. And then between the two also there is a mixed costs that have the characteristics of both variable and fixed. All right. All right, I think we have elaborated on that enough. Okay, and we know direct material, direct labor, and overhead. Total costs that change in direct proportion to the changes in productive output, those are called variable costs, and they are referred to as unit level activities, since the cost is incurred each time a unit is produced or a service is delivered. So anytime you produce one unit, like remember the bicycle, every time you make a bike, that you produce a unit. Okay, that's why it's called a unit level activity. Direct labor, direct material, and operating supplies and gasoline are examples of variable costs. And you can think of hundreds of variable costs. Yeah. The cost of the bikes, the cost of this disc, the cost of the textbook. Those are all variable costs, examples of variable costs. And total variable, like we said, total variable costs, that's the one that changes in proportion to volume, okay, to volume of production. It remains constant per unit, but changes as a total, all right? So variable cost can be computed using a variable cost formula, which is variable rate times units produced. You remember the bike, we said, and we put 3-4 levels of production, and per unit, we said, I think $20, $20 some. So that's per unit, is fixed per unit, but the total is varying. So total variable cost is how many bikes you produce times the cost per bike, yeah. An activity base or denominator, activity or cost driver, is the activity for which relationships are established. The general guide for selecting an activity, I'm not worried about that. Okay. Because variable costs increase or decrease in direct proportion to volume or output, is important to know an organization's operating capacity. It's very important to know what is an operating capacity.
I guess the limit that you can operate at, basically.
All right. So what is the operating capacity at your place? Can it fit for any other more? Can you use some more or fill it? In every corner, everywhere you put supplies there. Can you do that?
Oh, like can we fit any more, like, what do you say, machine, or just any more product out? You talking about product wise? Like
space, product.
You really don't have too much space to pay.
So what is your? We're gonna learn in a minute your in a minute we'll, what you call the relevant range. We're going to learn in a minute relevant range. Okay, so operating capacity is your at most. Okay, there's no more space that, for example, in your place, when you fill up everything, then you may exceed your normal capacity.
Oh yeah.
So the operating capacity is the upper limit of organization's productive output capability given its existing resources. So with the resources available to you, that is the max you can produce. Yeah, all right. That is your operating capacity. So there are three common measures or three types of capacity. All right, operating capacity. You have your theoretical capacity, and you have your practical capacity, and you have your normal capacity. Okay. The theoretical capacity is the maximum productive output for a given period in which all machinery and equipment are operating at optimal speeds. Okay, without interruption. No company actually operates such level. I mean, there has to be some kind of stoppage, some kind of breakage, there is no way you can full at your optimal capacity all the time. So if you are able to do that, that's called the theoretical capacity. Okay? And the second one is a practical capacity, is called the engineering capacity. Is the theoretical capacity reduced by normal breakage or normal stoppage of work? Machines sometimes stop, and you have to stop and fix them, and then, so that is your practical capacity. And then you have normal capacity, that's the average annual level of an operating capacity needed to meet expected sales demand. Okay, that's your average. It is a realistic measure of what an organization is likely to produce. So which one of the three is the you think the one most widely used? Theoretical capacity, that is impossible.
Yeah, that's how like.
Yeah, that's impossible. Yeah. Practical is your theoretical reduced by some stoppage, some breakage, some
That's
delays.
The same way to go about it. You know what I'm saying? Like the conservative way, like just to make sure, like just in case anything happens, we're gonna be prepared for this and that.
And your normal?
Of course.
I would say the normal. This is the normal one. Is the, of course, you can devote your resources to do the practical, to produce at your practical capacity. If you devote all your resources, but your normal capacity, this is the average annual rate that you usually do. Okay, so you make your plans, your budget, over your normal capacity. Okay, it's impossible to do the theoretical, but you could do the practical capacity. Now, so we know the capacity now. We know variable costs. Now fixed costs. Remember those that regardless of how many units you produce, you have to pay that specific amount. And what would be examples of your fixed costs?
Like
the manager's salary,
yeah,
for example.
the salary, basically, like you don't get paid hourly no more. So like
Insurance, utilities. Okay, those are your.
Even one basic, like if you go to a buffet, you pay at one price and you get all you can eat. But that's just different. I know it don't have nothing to do with it.
How often do you go to those?
The buffet?
Yeah,
Not very often.
Chinese places they have one.
Oh yeah, that's
What's
right.
the buffet the other day?
The last time I went to a buffet was like a few months ago.
The Golden Corral?
Like May.
Last month we went to a place in Dallas. That's in Arab, in Richardson. Are you familiar with Richardson area?
I used to live there when I was like.
Richardson area.
That's like when I was like 2, bro. Like 2 to 3.
Are you familiar with? Oh boy, I forgot the name of that. It's off 75. after you do the Spring Valley, and then 75 you turn right. You keep going for about a mile to 2 miles. There is a road there. And there's hotels, big hotels there.
Oh, okay. And it has a big buffet over by there.
Yes, that's an Arab place. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yes, very much. Yeah. Actually, there are two. One is called Alibaba, and the other one is a. You know, sometimes you have something in your hand and you forgot. Sometimes I forget my cell phone number, and this like this thing. How can I forget it? I go to it every month almost. We go to it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you go there often.
Yeah. We go to buy our groceries from there. There is a Richardson, lots of Arab stores there.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
like a little shopping center.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah. It's Middle Eastern groceries. Yeah.
That's cool.
So anyway, fixed costs are fixed as a total, but vary as a per unit basis, depending on your volume. So if you divide your volume by how many units produced, then you get every time you get different per unit base. Yeah. So there is one thing that also important in this kind of analysis, profit cost volume profit analysis, is the relevant range. Relevant range. That is your average, or
Time it may take to make a product.
yes, your average activity. Okay, your really average. If this is okay, if you take this as your units, and these are as your costs, okay, and then so you usually produce from maybe 200 units at this specific cost. Okay, so this is your relevant range. Okay, that's what you usually produce, yeah, what you usually manufacture or do. And then you could increase your normal range, produce more units, and therefore more costs. So this is a new relevant range, your relevant range. You may increase your production units to a little bit higher, and therefore higher. So every time here you have a relevant range, here is you have another relevant range, and here you have another relevant range. So relevant range is your normal. You could say this is maybe not practical capacity, maybe your normal capacity level. Yeah, that's what you usually produce. Okay, you have a range. Even if you are not doing too much, you can do at least that one, and when you are very, very busy, you can get to. So that's your average normal rate, yeah. Okay? So, is the span of activity in which a company expects to operate. And then fixed cost behavior is expressed. Fixed cost is equal to your fixed cost in a relevant range. So, whatever your fixed cost in this area, so here you have one relevant range, here you have another relevant range, here you have another relevant range here. So your fixed cost in each of the, here's your fixed cost, your fixed cost, your fixed cost, yeah. If you increase your relevant range, then you increase your fixed cost, okay? Like we said, on a per unit basis, the fixed cost varies. Okay, changes, but it's fixed as a total, the opposite of variable cost. Each range is called step. So here you have a step, you have a step, you have step. Yeah. Okay. Every step cost remains constant in a relevant range of an activity, and increase or decrease in a step, like, well, I'm doing it step going up, and you can do it also step going down, yeah, okay. And you have mixed costs also. You have variable, fixed, and mixed. Mixed costs that have both the characteristics of both variable and fixed. So give me a couple of examples of mixed costs that have the characteristics. Don't look there.
I'm not. I'm assuming. Yeah, both the variable and fixed.
And fixed, yeah.
Let's see. Dang, that's. I can't.
Well, your electricity bill. Think about there is a minimum amount you have to pay regardless of you use electricity or not. So that's fixed.
Okay.
And then as you exceed,
Anytime after that.
and after that you start having
By your
different.
wattage.
Yes.
Okay.
Electric, telephone, heating costs are examples of mixed costs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Telephone bill.
Yeah. Mhm. Now, mixed costs behavior is expressed mathematically in the mixed cost formula is equal to your variable rate times units produced plus fixed cost. Or you start with your fixed portion plus your variable rate times units, okay, produced. Either way. Okay. Get it? Now we need to learn how to, if you have a total cost, okay, we need to learn how to separate the variable portion and the fixed portion of a cost. And there are several methods how to do that. You have the scatter diagram method, high-low method, statistical method, and engineering method. But the thing that we will learn probably only those two, but we'll know the definition of the other two. Yeah. This statistical method, that's you're gonna go to Excel and figure out the variable portion. Yeah. Okay, scatter diagram is just like it says, scatter, we're going to see how it works. And then you have the high-low method, and that's where you have your highest activity with the corresponding cost, the lowest activity with the corresponding cost, yeah. And that's what we're going to do. So open your book to get a good example. Open your book on page chapter 21. Go to chapter 21. Page all right. Start on page 927. The scatter diagram is just you do a scatter. Let me show you. Okay, let me go to Excel, for example. All right, and so you see this example in the middle of the page. You have the month, machine hours, and electricity costs. Okay. So if you do each month and you put the corresponding machine hours and electricity, if we do, for example, January, February, March, April, and May and June. All right, so let's do 6 months and just look how it works. And then on So this is a month. Okay, and then you have machine hours. Machine hours. Well, okay, machine hours. And you have here costs. Take the machine hours. Okay, because the last column is your total cost. That's what we try to divide that total cost, okay, into fixed and variable portion. And so take just the machine hours, 6250, 6300, and 6350, and 6400, 6300, 6200. Okay, so let's do a scatter for those two, just these two things. Highlight. Okay, highlight these two. All right, and then we're going to go to let's go to data, insert. Let's go to insert, scatter, and let's do this. See, you have a scatter here for just those 6 months only, and the scatter goes like that. But you could take 2 points, take the highest point and the lowest point. Okay, the highest point is 6400, and so the highest point is 6404, correct? And the lowest point is 62 and 6. So you take each, and then you take the highest cost, because the no, I should have done not the month. I should have done the machine and the cost. Sorry, I should have done the machine and the costs, machine hours and the cost. Let me change that to the cost. 24,000, 42,400, 200. Sorry.
That's 24.
24. Yeah, 24, 200, 24, 350, 46, what am I doing? 24, 600, 24, 400, 24, 300. Okay, so you take these two, I think, instead of the. All right, and insert, scatter. Choose that one. Okay, that's a little bit better. This is your highest point, and this is your lowest point. Okay, so you take the cost, the highest cost, minus the lowest cost, divided by highest machine hours minus lowest machine hours. So you do, where's my chalk? So take the highest point, okay, at the highest point, okay, each one has cost and activity, correct? And the lowest point have also both have high cost and activity. So you take the highest cost minus the lowest cost, and you divide by highest activity minus lowest activity. That should give you the cost, the variable portion for each cost. Give you the variable portion for each cost. Okay? This is the scatter method. Yeah. As you can see on the, but they don't do the whole example on the statistical method. But that's what it looks like, the high-low method. Okay? So which one is that? The 6400? The one with the 6400? 6400 units and 6400 units and 24,600. Okay, so you take the highest, you take the cost. Okay, you take the cost.
24,600.
Okay, minus. That's the minus the with the lowest point. Which one is the lowest point? 6250. Anyway, you take the highest cost minus lowest cost. You divide by the denominator, highest volume minus lowest volume, and that will give you that. That will give you the
Variable.
yes, the variable portion of the cost. Yeah. And the rest of the, then you take any cost. Once you find the variable portion, you take any cost here, and you already know the variable portion. The rest of it is going to be the fixed portion.
Okay.
Okay. Let me finish these. Okay, let me finish these. 6200. We got up to 6200, 6100. 6050, 6150, 6250, 6350, 6450. Okay, and then you do the corresponding 23,900, 23,600, 23,950, 24,100, 24,400, and 24,700. Okay, so we should have started with the high-low method, because once you know the high-low method, then you can easily do the scatter, because scatter is also applied, because you are taking the highest cost with the lowest cost, highest activity, the same. That's exactly what the high-low method. The high-low method says, okay, highest cost, okay, divided by highest cost minus lowest cost, divided by the corresponding highest activity minus corresponding lowest activity. Like if you look over here, what is the highest activity? 6450, which is the last one. And so the corresponding cost is 24,700. And what's the lowest activity in those? 6050. So 24,700 minus 23,600. 20. Okay, which one was you said the highest? 6050.
6450.
Okay, this one. 24,700 minus what is the lowest activity? 6050. The cost is 23,600 minus 23,600 divided by the corresponding highest activity was 6450, correct? 6450 minus the lowest was 6050. So do that now. Do that 24,700 minus 23,600. What do you get?
You said 24,700 minus 23,600.
23,600.
You get
1,100
yeah, 1,100.
divided by, do 6,450 minus 6050. 400. All right, now do the division. 20 with 20. 11 over 4 is 2.30. This is the variable portion. So you take any activity here. If you take the first one, for example, the variable portion is 2.35. So multiply 6,250 by 235. What do you get?
You said what?
6,250 machine hours divided by and times 2.35.
6,250 times 2.7. 17,186.
Which one did you do?
You said 6,250?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times 235. What did you get?
275.
No, with this one 2.35.
No, it was 2.75. That's what I said.
I thought you said 235.
No, 75.
All right, 275.
Yeah, 17,187.5.
17,000.
187.5.
88. Let's say 88.
Okay.
So 17,188 of the 24,000 is variable. The rest is fixed.
0.71.
What do you mean 0.7?
You said take that number and divide it by 24.
No, I said take 24,188 from 24,000.
Oh.
Yeah, because this is the variable portion of that cost, and what's left over is your fixed portion.
6,800.
Yeah, so that's the fixed portion. Take any one of those. Take any one. Take 60/50, for example. Okay, 60/50 times 2.75 will give you the variable portion out of 23,600. The rest of it is fixed. So this is the high-low method. Okay, let's do this, see how the scatter looks like. Since we have the whole thing, see if it looks like the one in the book. Insert, scatter. Yes, it does look like the one in the book. If you look on the book on page, in the next page, 928, see the scatter? So you have the highest, if you take the highest point and with the lowest point on that diagram, and then you do high-low method. That's it. On the scatter, yeah. You pick the highest, so it may be, even if you go a little bit further, or go a little bit down. So which one is the highest? Going to be this one the highest, and this one is the lowest. And you estimate the units with the corresponding cost. For that point here, you estimate the units with the corresponding cost. And you take the highest cost here minus lowest cost divided by highest activity minus corresponding lowest activity. Yeah. Does that have you ever had any business math class where you have to do something like that?
Apply statistics.
I remember when I did my bachelor, we did business math. Yeah, all the it's not all this. Only the ones who did not go for science, they would do business math, and I didn't go for science, so I had to do business math. Yeah.
Was it hard?
Oh, it was easy, smooth. Yeah. I love math. I love math. Yeah.
You know, some people are just like math. You can't just really get better. Some people are just born good at it. Some people are just born bad at it.
No, I enjoyed math. The only thing I don't like was the physics.
Oh,
I
yeah.
never liked. That's why I didn't go for science.
Oh, like science. But the crazy thing is, they correspond with each other.
I would have been I would have been a math teacher or a biology or chemistry, but I would never be physics teacher. I never liked it.
That's science still like.
I like math, chemistry, but I like those. Yeah, I enjoy them.
I hate math with a passion.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the high-low method. Now the statistical method is that, and here's why I wrote these down here. You go to data. Okay, we need data analysis. Do you see data analysis here? I don't think we, that means we have to add it. Add ins, let me see if we can add ins. I don't see the add ins.
Go back to data. Should they have data analysis?
Data.
It says, you see the what if analysis?
No, it has to be data analysis. I think there is an add-in. Add-in. Data. Let me go back to home. Data. In the corner here somewhere there should be data analysis. Okay, let me see data tools. Those are data tools. Insert home. Formulas. Something is okay. Add in. It should be under add in somewhere. Okay, data. Chart tool design. Do you see add in somewhere? Well, let me go back to home and I don't even see f of x here. What did we do with the f of x? Here's f of x. Nope. Okay, f of x. Okay. If you go to financial, put all, select financial data, math, statistical. Okay, and look for regression. I don't see regression here. It must be under data analysis. Data.
Click down to what if analysis. Like, you
Huh?
see it says what if analysis, you can click down and it'll give you more options.
In here,
Yeah, right. See, you just have to go up a little bit right there, click down on it.
This is what if analysis. Usually if it doesn't show, you have to add it in. Yeah, if it doesn't show, there is an add in. See, I don't see any add ins. I don't see any add ins. See, it's empty. Anyway, the statistical is where you do your regression equation. Okay, where you have y equal a plus bx. Okay, once you find the a, and then you find the b. Okay, the b. This is your dependent variable. This is the x is your independent variable. This is the variable portion. The b is the variable portion usually. So you multiply the b by the x, which is like this. The x's are these, and that will give you the variable portion. Okay, and the rest of the cost is, so the whole thing is to find b. And then you start multiplying b by what is what is y if x is such and such. So x would be your fixed, and y be your fixed, and x is your variable. Yeah. Or you can do it the other way. The y is the variable and x is the fixed. So it depends on how you put it. Yeah. Which is x, which is dependent, which is independent. Yeah. Well, I can see, so we could do the formula. Okay, we could do the formula, and then we ask what is x. Now what is y if x is any of those costs? Yeah. So y is your total of y is your variable portion. Sorry, y is your variable portion. What is y if x is this or that or that or that? Okay, but the reason why you do the regression in order to find the a, the constant, and the b. Okay, and I couldn't find a regression analysis. Let me see if they tell us something in the book. Statistical. Oh yeah, you do regression analysis. Yeah, right there. Okay. One last attempt. Data. What if analysis? Formulas. I can't see financial. I don't know, because this is an advanced Microsoft Excel. It's not the. It's there is a way to find it, but I don't know how.
Version?
Yeah,
It's a newer version.
yeah, a newer version. Usually, all what you add is, and then you see the regression. Click on the regression, and yeah. But
So that was the extra stuff to find it.
do you see here in the f of x? Let me most recently. I tried to find the statistical. Okay, and here, if we find the regression analysis, Q rank skew. I don't see regression analysis yet. Hey, good morning. Hey, how you doing, doctor? Yeah, I don't see regression analysis yet. But it would have shown if you had your data analysis. Yeah. And that will easily give you the A, what is the A and what is the B. Yeah. And all what you need, just put those figures in it. And in the old days when I learned statistics, the A had a formula and the B has a formula. Yeah. But that was many years ago in the 80s. In the 80s, yeah. But you don't have to do that because you should have the regression analysis here. Yeah. So, and I don't see, they are not giving any direction how to do it. Yeah. Anyway, but so this is the engineering method. Engineering method, it has a lot of details and symbols, and the most complicated one, as the name implies. Okay, so if you go back to high-low method, we got that. Okay, statistical, you do regression analysis. And the engineering, separate cost by performing a step-by-step analysis, sometimes called a time and motion study of the task costs. So you do step-by-step analysis of the tasks, the costs, and the processes involved. So that's, as the name implies, there's a lot of steps and relations, correlations, analysis, and stuff in it. Yeah. So we'll, if I were to focus on 2 or 3, I'll focus on the scatter diagram, focus on the high-low method, and statistical method. Yeah. Statistical method, if you have an older version of Excel, you can easily go to data, and then if data analysis is not there, you do the add-ins. And the add-ins, you pick the regression analysis. Yeah. Okay. So let's stop here. And the balance of the time, I'm going to give you the chapter 17 if you don't have it. And have you done the test?
I'm still working. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, I need those because we only have this week.
Oh yeah, I know.
We have this week. So let me go and get. Did you give me the redo of the? Remember, I asked you to redo again one of the.
I gave you the redo for 13.
Not there's another one. You have to redo another one too.
14.
Yeah, you have to redo that. Yeah. So let me stop here.
Yeah,
And
I just had to do that one problem on 14 with the
I
match.
gotta check. I gotta get you 14.
let me stop streaming.